Welcome to The Diamond Mine with David Fuller, a podcast from the Rough Diamond Academy. Hello my friends, so I'm here today with the fabulous Kariné Poghosyan. Some of you may have noticed a little early in the week I posted a link to Kariné playing from her home at one of her mini concerts. And if you haven't seen that, you should go back and find it. But I invited Kariné along today to chat about life as a musician in these times and the changes that's brought to her work as a musician. And so, Kariné, thanks for joining us. Great to have you here. Great to see you.
Thank you.
You know, it's been nearly not quite 2 years, I think, since you and I first chatted on my show, Creative Conversations.
Right.
Pretty much from these exact same positions. And we spoke in that particular chat about, I guess, your creative history and how you started and that whole process. So I'd recommend people, I'll pop a link in the show notes to that so people go along and have a look at that chat and get a little bit of background on you and where you've come from.
Mm-hmm.
I know many people will know you and will have seen you play. Today, as I said, I wanted to chat more about life in New York at the moment, and particularly as a musician. Yeah. How you holding up?
Well, it hasn't been easy for sure, but we are doing the best we can to just take it one day at a time. That would be my motto right now.
It's a good motto. So you work obviously as a musician, concert pianist, and also as a teacher. So you teach at the Manhattan School of Music?
I do.
You know, it was also just a tad over a year ago that I was in New York, and I had the absolute privilege of sitting in a room and getting a private recital. There was a whole 4 of us in the audience, which was just a blast. Can you believe that was a year ago?
That was so much fun.
Amazing. Loved it. So I'm curious. You're doing your Friday night mini concerts from home.
Mm-hmm.
And how did that start?
Well, it was literally the first week of full, complete lockdown in New York. And I just was in complete state of panic, as many people, as a concert artist. You know, your whole life is about, being on the stage, and there's all these external factors and the applause and the reviews and beautiful posters and all these things suddenly were rendered meaningless and they were gone. And I felt something inside of me was, there was one thing that wasn't gone, and that was this powerful desire to just play, to share. I'm not a medical worker. I'm not, a researcher. I don't have any expertise to offer and help with. So that was the only way I knew how to be helpful. And so I put together, I actually initially just did a little post on social media asking if there would be interest. I wasn't even sure if I should do this, and I felt very silly doing that. And to my surprise, within even an hour, there were so many positive comments. So I thought, let me just put together some of my favorite pieces for about a half an hour on a Friday night, a typical time in the week that we all look forward to. Usually, end of the week, we usually have something planned, a movie night or some sort of a theater or something that we have to do at that time in the city. And so I thought, let me create this actual event and occasion that we all have to look forward to. It wasn't meant to be a series in any way. And then at the end of that first one, there were a lot of very sweet comments and requests to just keep doing that, because people would say it really is that thing that they have to look forward to during the week. So it would just.
I definitely do. It's Saturday morning when I get to watch. Because we're in the future here in Australia, as I keep telling you.
I love it.
So it's my Saturday morning, your Friday night, and I haven't missed one. So there's been 9 so far.
It's
Um,
crazy.
they've all
Crazy to
been
combine.
fantastic, absolutely brilliant. And now you do that just on your phone, yeah? You just
I do. Yeah, it's been it's the craziest thing. I've experimented a little bit with some other technologies, and it seemed to not be as good as this good old iPhone, where I literally just press, go live and plop it up in a, it's not even very high tech. I have this like from a dollar store, this little thing that
oh,
I plop
oh,
it up on. That's it.
oh.
It doesn't
Well,
take, it turns out.
incredible. Like, so I can tell you in my room here, which is where I sit and listen to it. I've got speakers either side of me here because this is my studio. So I have my
Ah,
studio monitors, and the sound is amazing. Like the fact that you get that on an iPhone
love
or
it.
phone is just incredible. I was wondering early on. I think I asked you if you were using any special equipment because the dynamic range
Mm.
is incredible. You would
Oh,
expect.
so happy.
I think you did experiment with your notebook and a microphone. Well,
Mm.
it wasn't as good because I think the microphone was clamping down and compressing some of the sounds. So,
Yeah, and also the computer video somehow was not as good.
yeah, amazing, isn't it? So here we have
So,
this little thing, that ubiquitous device that we all have, that the phone, and and it brings you into the rooms of people anywhere in the world.
right.
Um, so not Carnegie Hall,
Yep.
but so this is why I was curious. Now, and I think often people take for granted artists and musicians.
Mm.
I know early on, um, there was calls, musicians, artists, we need you. And I'm like, yeah, really? Okay. You realize these people need to make a living. This was kind of my thing.
Here
And
we are.
most of them at that point in time were in shock, thinking, I've just lost my entire income. So I
Right.
think it's remarkable that any musicians have turned up, and you've done that now for 9 weeks. You make your income from a couple of sources, as I said, from um, teaching.
Well, it has prior to this, madness. It has been a very balanced sort of, primarily from live performances, obviously, and recordings, and also partially from teaching. And the big change that has happened with me is that I just had to shift to some sort of an online platform to, to help generate a bit more income since, live concerts are not happening. I had quite a few amazing concerts booked that were canceled, and I was just heartbroken. But yeah, it's definitely a time to be creative. And I just want to say, Dave, thank you so much for raising this very important topic. I think it needs to be talked about so much. The idea of artists' value, like an actual value as a business, because I don't think that's a conversation that's had often, and it's
No,
neat to be, had.
I think most artists struggle with this
Mm,
in putting a dollar value around what they do, and
right.
and I understand that because I have the same conversations in my head, about your worth.
Right.
And I think I said to you off camera before, when we were
Sure.
chatting just before we started here. I think one of the great challenges for musicians or artists is to separate themselves from their work, and that's hard to do, right? Because it's kind of our soul, right? It's
Really.
embedded in every part of our DNA. So, but we need to separate ourselves from that, and I think I said to you to look at yourself as not a dollar value. You are
Mhm.
priceless. What you do is priceless, right? It's beyond a dollar value, but a
Mhm.
small window into your world that you offer an audience can have a value,
Right.
and that's a different way of looking at it.
I love that.
And so this is a business, I guess, small business community. And
Mm,
this is something I guess we all need to think about, whether we're musicians or
sure.
whatever, that what we're doing is we're wrapping a value around something that we offer, not ourselves. We're all priceless, every one of us,
Right.
which is,
Right.
which is one of the reasons I named this community, the Rough Diamonds.
I
We're
love that so
diamonds,
much.
right? We're in the rough. What we're going to do is work out what the value is and polish that up, cut it and polish it. But we're,
Sure.
we're beyond value. But the things that we do, the services we offer, we can wrap a value around. So this is a challenge for you. So you've been doing these series of mini concerts.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I'm curious to know whether you've given thought to about what happens going forward.
Right.
None of us know how long this is going to go, for starters, which is a stress in itself. But let's assume that it all gets wrapped up soon and life is, in quotes, back to normal.
Mm-hmm.
What have you learned from this that you can take forward into your business model?
I mean, the craziest thing of all is I have, and it will probably sound very cliche, but I have learned that I'm so much more courageous than I give myself credit for, because 1 week before that first initial live concert, if you had told me I would do something like that, I literally would I would leave the room and run away somewhere, because the idea of doing a live concert in front of people from all over the world. It's not just my close, supportive, loving friends. It's just public. It's anybody. And then it's recorded and it's now available forever. I mean, that was in my head such a high pressure thing that I would never, I don't know, I never believed I could do that. And then somehow that first week I went to another level. I don't even know how that transformation happened, but it just was, like I said, it was a desire to do my little part as a performer, as a musician, and bring some comfort, and that overtook my insecurities and all these things, and I just went for it. And so going forward, I'm definitely looking forward to bottling that and holding on to that sense of, you can do a lot of really crazy things, even if at the beginning it feels impossible. So that was a big one.
Well, I'm glad you got over that insecurity. I really am. As I said, it brings me a great deal of pleasure watching every Saturday morning. It also gets, also delays having to do the vacuum cleaning and stuff like that.
Yay!
I don't get out of it, but it just delays
That
it.
could help.
At least I go into it feeling better, right? So, but no, I'm glad you did. And this is a really interesting thing. So I know that you have a platform where people can support you, and and it's called Patreon. So people can actually be your patrons. In the good old days, I think I put out a post recently. Where are the Medicis when you need
Medicis, I saw that. I really chuckled at that. That was really sweet.
Because it's like, in the good old days, you would have a patron, or like a family, a wealthy family would essentially pay for you to do your art, and they would become benefactors of that, and a lot of that was charitable, and they would put that out to whatever, and that was normal.
Yep. Yeah, so, that's how Beethoven made his living. I mean, he just had people giving them annual stipends. That was it.
That's it. So it was not uncommon for that, and thank goodness. Can you imagine if Beethoven hadn't? You wouldn't have been playing his beautiful works yesterday.
Right. Exactly.
So Patreon is an online portal where people can go on and literally say, well, I'm prepared to pay X amount per month. And it opens up a small window into your world. So I got to say, you're one of the hardest working people on Patreon. You post every day.
Every day.
That's a lot of work for what is essentially at the entry point $1.
Right. A month.
Up to $10 a month.
Yeah. That's the maximum. I wanted to make sure I keep it incredibly. And by the way, you're going to start to hear it's 7:00 in New York, so you're going to start to hear the cheers at this point. But but no, I wanted to make sure it is very affordable, and anyone, whoever can afford whatever amount. And I mean, it wasn't an easy, as I shared with you earlier, it wasn't an easy step to take, because I still to this day have that, I don't know, that discomfort of the idea of putting a monetary value on what I'm doing. And it is, I'm realizing it is incredibly essential for me to be able to do things that I as an artist can do. To do a proper recording session, proper video shoot, rent out concert venues, all these things that I want to do, I'm not able to do if I don't have income, a
Yeah.
proper source of income. And what is also funny, I think we as artists suffer from this tremendously, and I have chosen to be open about this and come to terms with it. I think it's also a little bit of an ego thing, like a little bit of an insecure ego thing where like, oh, I don't want people to know that I am, I need money or something like that. Well, it doesn't have to be that way. It can simply be that you have this kind of a project, just like just like in business or in cinema, in film, they have, okay, this is a $10 million film that we want to create. I mean, I was watching Martin Scorsese do an interview, and he was talking. I need money. I need $10 million for this film, and I have to raise that.
That's
And
right.
I'm like, well, that's exactly what I'm trying to do, because I want to do these video shoots. I want to do these recitals. I simply cannot afford to do that alone. And there are beautiful people, wonderful friends, who want to be a part of that journey and want to be of support. And my token of gratitude is to, and you're absolutely right, I have been pushing myself like crazy to make sure that every single day I post something that isn't just like a little, doodle of me practicing, just the right hand or something like that. I actually want to create this sense of a mini performance of what I'm working on that day or what I'm preparing
Mm.
to perform tomorrow. And you get the sneak peek, you get that early viewing of that piece. And
It's incredible, and you share not just the playing and that sneak peek of what's coming up. You share your art. You have some of the most beautiful diaries or journals in the world. And
it's so much fun actually to share. I love what you say, like the little window into my world, because I definitely see it exactly as just that, because it's fascinating to know about the artist, about the performance. I think it really creates a connection on a whole nother level and a relatability. And I feel like that's sort of one of my biggest missions, to demystify uh, the life and the journey of a classical musician. I want to demystify it. I want to show that we are incredibly human, and this is how we work. This is how we think. This is where we draw inspiration from. Here's the picture of that thing. It's incredibly gratifying to share that with my patrons. So yeah,
well, I
definitely.
think it's incredibly brave, but and surprisingly enough, musicians are human, and they have all the same needs as everyone else. Imagine going to work and saying, "Oh, thank you for the paycheck, but please don't tell anyone that you're giving this to me because I don't want anyone to know that I actually need to have money to live." Like, who would do
Yeah.
that? They're like, "Boss, where's my paycheck?" Right?
Right.
Because we all know we need to pay rent and have food and live
Yeah.
life. But for
Right.
some reason, musicians, and I don't know how this happened, got into this mold where it's almost shameful to ask for, payment for your services.
Right.
No one else has that. I can assure you.
Yeah.
Everyone goes to work and they put their hand out at the end of the week and say, "All right, dollars in the hand, or I'm not coming back." And
Yeah. Yeah.
but musicians don't, and I've seen it in so many ways. I used to get, I haven't played live for 3 years. It's almost 3 years to the day since I last played live.
Oh wow.
And I don't consider myself much of a performer. I'm a songwriter, and I like the
Uh-huh.
solitude of writing, and I like to create in solitude. That's me. Some people are performers, right? But one of the things that really used to irk me about trying to get gigs, and it happens worldwide. You go
Uh-huh.
along and say, "You got this band," and they'd say, "All right, we're booking you for this. How many people are you bringing?"
Oh
And,
wow.
and my instant reaction is, "I don't know. How many's the chef bringing tonight? How many people are the waiting
I
staff
love
bringing
that.
tonight? Do you ask them? Like, I'm,
Yeah.
I'm playing here. How about you
Yeah.
start marketing the performance and get people in the door? It's your venue.
Yeah.
We're the hired help. Why are
Right.
you asking us?" And I think that model's crazy because as my other hat, as a businessman, I'm like, if I own the venue, why
Hmm.
would I want to give the power of the audience to the musician? Because
Right.
then he can go walk down the road, take all that audience to another place and say, well, I've got these 1,000 people that come to every gig I do, and I'm prepared to pay here for X. Right? And if we're smart, that's what we would do, because then we would start to leverage our power as the performers against the venues. But it doesn't work that way. It's like, well, how many people are you bringing? It's like, that's crazy.
Yeah, right? I mean, it's like an entire psychological reboot needs to take place, and maybe this is the time. Maybe this is the opportunity to just once and for all get over maybe it's ego, maybe it's insecurity, whatever it is, to get over it. And because ultimately, I think what and I speak for myself, I think what we fear the most is that we'll be judged or laughed at, or but ultimately people want to support. I mean, I'm always thinking, oh, no one's going to do it. But even on my Patreon, I've had so many wonderful people, a couple of people literally joined the first day, and I'm like, oh, wow, I suddenly have 5 patrons. Wow, when did that happen?
Well, I think it's interesting because often, so this is our self-limiting belief as artists, say no one will, so therefore we don't, right?
Yeah.
Whereas if you give people the opportunity and create the platform for them to actually support you, guess what? They do.
Yeah.
Not
you build and they come.
Exactly. Well, and not everyone. Some people will, the vast majority of people will come and listen, and they will take what you offer for free, and they will go along their way. But somewhere along the line, you pick up these, fans and then super fans. Have you ever heard of the term super fan?
I love that term. Yes.
I mean, the idea, for anyone who doesn't know this, that if you can create a super fan, and they're the small percentage of fans that literally love everything you do, right? And you would see this with large celebrities, if they were selling, I don't know, a T-shirt that they once wore, they'll bid millions of dollars because, it's like, it's not worth it. It's worth $10, but it's that celebrity factor. So super fans will bid what they see their value. Right. A super fan loves everything you do, and they will literally pay. So the idea is that if you can build up 1,000 super fans that are prepared to pay $100 a year, which is your $10 a month on Patreon, if you can build up 1,000 of them, you have a very good income.
Yes. And
now,
then
to build up 1,000 super fans, you probably need 10, 20, 30, 40, 50,000 ordinary fans. And you probably need 1 million people walk past the door who don't buy anything. I don't know the numbers, but so that opportunity as an artist to think differently about what you package.
Right.
This is what I thought when I sat in that room with you a year ago listening, and I'm literally sitting side onto the piano and I'm watching you play straight on. I had the best seat in the house without question. And I filmed it. It was wonderful. And I was blown away. So I was watching, but I was filming. I had my camera on my chest so that I wasn't looking through the camera lens. I was watching and hoping that it was filming. It was marvelous. And I thought to myself at the time, so you fill Carnegie Hall, and that's, I don't know, $20, $30, $40 seats.
Something like that, yeah.
Something like that. And you have to get, I don't know how many, just 500 in Carnegie Hall? It's more?
It was, 590.
590 in Carnegie Hall. So you've got to fill that to make a decent living. In that little recital room, I think there was probably room for 20 or 30.
Yeah, it was a small salon, yeah.
Right. But 20 or 30 people who desperately want to watch you and are prepared to pay $100 to be there. Right, for a personal recital, and maybe you throw in a greet and meet afterwards with some sort of hors d'oeuvres and cocktails. Really different way of packaging your business. It's the business, another personal window into your life. So easier to get 30 bums on a seat than 500. Right, and there will probably be people who be prepared to pay. You don't know. There'll be a point where you'll work out where people aren't prepared to pay. They won't buy. But it might be $100, might be $250 for the front row. Right. Or that seat that I was sitting in, it might be $500.
Oh my.
I don't know what the market would be. You don't know what the market would bear either, right? So this is one of those things where if you can tap into that super fan concept and not be afraid, because it's not you. Remember, you're
Mhm.
priceless. You can't wrap a value around you.
Right.
But what you're doing is wrapping a value around the experience
Hmm.
of being in that room with you.
Hmm. I love it.
And it's
You
no
know,
different than Carnegie Hall. I'm pretty sure that the seats at the back in the corner are cheaper than the ones at the front.
of course, yeah, yeah. We had to, you know,
Yeah, of
um,
course. So
that,
it's that it's a different experience. So it has a
yeah.
different monetary value.
The thing I love about what you're saying the most is that it completely um, it gives the control of the situation completely back to the artist, whereas before the model was, and certainly that was the programming in my brain for the longest time, and that was, you know, find an agent, find a manager, they will make things happen for you.
Yes.
And I followed that model blindly to a point where on several occasions I was you know, treated not very well, was expected to just, you know, pay these people and they would not be working, they would not be getting me any concerts. And that's like the notorious thing about managers, that you cannot expect things to just, you know, they say that from the get-go, you know, don't expect me to have, I don't know, 100 engagements for you a year. I'm going to work on it, but I can't promise anything. And so some say that and then actually try and work. I unfortunately met several people who said that, and then I did not hear from them. It was like crickets. And then when I would book something, they would suddenly show up and be like, "Ah, where's my 20%?"
Right.
So
Exactly.
this complete change of, you know, paradigm really helps the artist to say, you know what, the hell with all of it. Let me just see what I can do, what I am in control of, and become comfortable with that. I know it's very comfortable, but
But
yeah.
you've got control, and I love that. Are you familiar with Amanda Palmer?
I can't remember at the
She
moment.
has a fascinating story. She used to be known as Amanda effing Palmer. That's used to be her,
Oh,
but it's now Amanda Palmer, I think. And she was the first one I sort of stumbled across who really embraced this idea of controlling her destiny as an artist.
mhm.
She was the lead singer of a band called the Dresden Dolls, from memory. Now, I could be a little, hazy on the facts, but roughly speaking, they put an album out and sold 20,000 units, or whatever it was. And
Cool.
all this time, she'd been working really hard at engaging with her audience. She
Right.
started her performing life as a performing statue, one of those people who were still, right? So she was used to people coming up and touching her. So she was very comfortable with being in close proximity to her audience.
Uh-huh.
So after gigs, they would go out and they'd meet and greet all their audience. They'd sign, they'd talk. So she had this great relationship with her audience. She was collecting information. She had their email addresses, all that sort of stuff, right?
Sure.
So when it came time for a potential second album, they were dropped by the recording company. I think this is right. Anyway, as I said, it could be a little sketchy on the details, but
Sure,
roughly,
sure.
the record company said, "Well, you only sold 20,000 units, whatever it is. That's you stiffed,
Mm.
We're not doing another one."
Yeah.
And they're like 20,000, that was awesome, right? So they did a crowdfunding exercise
Sure, sure.
for her next album. I don't know if it was the Dresden Dolls, but I think it was her personally. Um, and guess how many people signed up?
Hmm.
20,000.
Ah, I love it.
And I think she was trying to get 500,000 or 1 million. I think she ended up with $3 million or something to
Oh my God.
actually fund this next album. So she's used that model for many, many years. And I think and when I read that, I'm like, wow. And she just
Yeah.
controls her entire destiny. Like, so.
It's so mind-boggling. I mean, I've seen, since I've started, I guess, my entrepreneurial journey, I've been researching vehemently to see what other models are out there, what other examples, and it's extraordinary. I mean, you even look at someone like Francis Ford Coppola, who went into the, you know, wining business and has his own winery, and then he said, you know, I wanted to make sure I am not relying on income from this big studio or this big whoever, so that when they come in to my, you know, cutting room at the end, they change the movie. He wanted that income to come from the, let's say, the wine, and then have absolute complete freedom of what he wants to create. And so, that was just such a genius example of comfort level of,
Yeah. So he had total artistic control because he controlled funds.
absolutely. But then he put out films that became what they became, as we all know. So it just is, it's not in any way anything awkward or new, or, I mean, so many of the greats that we look at and admire do this. It's just somehow has been mystified, and it's just a moment to just blow the cover and demystify it. And
Well, I think it takes an awful lot of courage to do something like Amanda Palmer has done, where you're really putting yourself out there. And excuse
right.
me, Amanda, if I got the details wrong, but I think I got the
Mhm.
essence right. That
Yeah, no.
prepared to reach, and this is one of the great opportunities I think for artists, more so today than ever before. Like, we can do this across the world. I'm in Melbourne, you're in New York, we're different time zones, and here we are talking real time.
Love it.
We have this opportunity to actually really engage with our audiences, and allow them into our world. Now, I say this, I'm not doing it. I have to say, my focus is on other things, but there will probably come a time when my focus shifts back to music, where I let people into this room.
Right.
This is it's nothing exciting.
You should do Facebook Lives, my friend.
Look, I probably should. As I said, my focus is elsewhere, but and I'll get back to it.
Yeah.
I've done the odd one or two, but Patreon, for example, where people can meet up here once a week and they can see me write. See, you perform. As I said, I'm a writer, you're a performer. Watching someone write is kind of like watching paint dry. from my perspective, right? And that's an example of a self-limiting belief, right? Because I think it's not exciting, right? Because I do it all. I sit here, I try different words, then I make lots of mistakes. It's
right.
The process of writing is long at times and tedious, but it can also be short and exciting sometimes when it just happens. I don't know. That's a self-limiting belief on my part. I have to work on my mind to do that.
I think it would be very interesting to see. It's like watching Michelangelo chisel away, and then you see the final product, and it's just like, wow, that was the starting point, and now here's the final product. It's very inspiring.
Look, if someone gave me a window into watching Michelangelo produce the David, it took him 2 years. So, I mean, I think it was 2 years, wasn't it?
The Sistine Chapel, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, well, wouldn't you be
and
there?
A very bad neck injury, from what I read.
Well, I can well imagine. I think as artists, we have the opportunity to really redefine in this age what it is to be an artist. And if you think about that, like that paradigm you're saying of manager,
right,
promoters,
the
old way that came about because the artist couldn't talk to the audience. You needed to, if you were, say, an up and coming, pop artist, you had to get on the radio. So you had to have the connections to get you on that radio. You probably had a 3 to 6 week window to get your new release played, and it was dead. Today, you can release an album, and 10 years later, it's still new to someone who hasn't heard it, and you can still be promoting it on the internet. So it's a completely different world.
It's interesting. I was actually saying this to my best friend the other day. We were having a chat about this moment, and I said, and this might at first sound possibly a bit, I don't know, maybe a bit insensitive, but it is the reality, and that is that this moment somehow, in its own crazy, twisted way, has been the ultimate equalizer. Where, yes, right now I'm not represented by one of the, let's say, world's greatest agencies, but the artists that are represented by those great agencies are doing absolutely nothing, while I am kicking my own rear and working really hard every single week and playing my heart out on Friday nights. I've been most active as an artist during these past 2 months than I've ever been. I mean, I've never done this like one new program a week, one new program up. That's never happened. And now I just did the 9th one yesterday. And so, yes, maybe I'm being snubbed a bit by those big agencies, but frankly, whatever. It's been an interesting, I guess, positive out of this moment for someone like me, where it has equalized and leveled the playing field. And
Yes.
ultimately, if you're willing to work hard and just put your product out there, your content out there, go for it.
I think the
Nothing's
challenge now for you as a business is to work out how to get that content in front of more people, because
right.
the more people that see it. So I'll put a challenge out on your behalf, because you probably won't do this. So if anyone's watching this who's watched one of your performances, don't just watch it, share it. So just click the share the performance, put it live to your Facebook stream while it's happening, so your friends can see it. I share it on my music page and my personal page every week. Now, I don't know who's watching that. You don't know who's watching that. I'm not getting a lot of feedback on it, but
I've suddenly had a massive influx of Australians watching it, so I have a feeling.
I'll take credit for that. I don't know if it's me, but I'll take credit for it. It had to be me. Go Aussies.
Thank you for that.
I know, for example, and I hadn't spoken to her about this. I noticed that my eldest sister's been watching.
I saw.
So you don't know, and so my challenge to everyone: if you're watching, don't just consume the entertainment. Do that and love it and enjoy it, because it's wonderful. Share it. Give other people the opportunity to enjoy what you're enjoying. Secondly, don't be afraid to put some money into the kitty. Like, let's keep Kariné working, and let's be like, I don't know. Not too many of my friends fall into the Medici category of wealth, but individually we can make up that 1,000 super fans and all chip in a little bit to keep the artists that we love. And I think I posted this really early on in the piece. Don't forget the artists and supporting them, because sure, I think your favorite artist who's a big celebrity is probably going to be okay, but the small army that supports them, the musicians, the roadies, the whatever, they're struggling. So they need us more than ever before. And choose an artist, and get behind them. What's $10 a month really? And you may well be struggling yourself, I know, but there's a $1 option, right?
Right. Yeah, $1, $5, and $10.
Yeah, so you get a different. And the challenge for you, I guess, is to maybe think beyond the $10 option. Particularly going forward when we get more contact with the world, and maybe there's the option to have that small recitals, or for really exclusive recitals that might go for half an hour. The ones you're doing on Friday night for free now might become a priced option for you.
My plan is to I might do a few more Facebook lives on Friday, but I'm coming to terms with the fact that at least for the summer, there's nothing happening live. There's no, none of my concerts. I had opportunities in Europe. All that's out the window. I mean, I have a recital in August in Vienna that is technically still not canceled, but to be completely honest with you, I'm not feeling safe to even travel. So, I'm coming to terms with the fact that this is the situation. And so what I am planning on doing is maybe once a month, instead of going on for like every single week, I'll do once a month a full recital, like a full hour or so. That will be like a proper recital, a ticketed recital in some minimal way. I haven't found out and finalized the final kind of platform, whether it will be like, I don't know, a PayPal link or something of that sort. But yeah, I think that would be the fair thing to do on both parts, because as you say, there are people that watch and their hearts are bursting from desire to do something.
You can see it watching the stream, the joy that it's bringing to people. So as a businessman and as a coach, I'm like, wrap some value around that, like wrap a price around it and grab it. It doesn't mean it doesn't mean that you stop giving away free content, right?
No, of course
not. But there is the opportunity to expand that into a more, a private session. Why not? And
some artists even have done Zooms, like Like that would be, let's say, I don't know. In fact, I just got an engagement to do a recital. I can't quite reveal yet because it's kind of still in planning stages, but it will be an online recital with this presenter who will be charging, I think, something like $5, like a $5 ticket, and then providing a Zoom link for that price, and then people can tune in, and I'm gonna play. I'm gonna play a huge, like it's like a 70-minute program.
Wow. Well, why
Goodbye.
not? I wouldn't hesitate to pay it. $5.
Yeah,
Right?
I'm
But
excited actually. I'm
there's that
excited.
opportunity
As soon
to
as I know, I'll send you the info.
brilliant. The opportunity to meet the artist. I think that I've been to gigs through industry nights where you get the meet and greets afterwards. Well, you can do a meet and greet here. We're
Right.
we're chatting, and we get a window not only into the artist but the human that is Kariné behind the artist. And
Yeah.
I think someone said this to me a little while ago. Imagine having a window into the studio when Beyonce walks in and they start writing. It's like,
Mm,
wow.
yeah.
I think, I'm just putting it out there. I've been doing this for a few weeks. The opportunities are huge. I floated an idea about 3.5, 4 years ago with my band because I kind of annoyed me, this whole thing, as I was saying. All the pubs would be like, oh yeah, well we've got nights, but how many people are you bringing in? I'm like,
Yeah. Yeah.
silly.
Yeah.
And I thought, why don't we find a factory somewhere in the middle of nowhere, do it up, hang heavy curtains and try to get the sound half decent, build a stage. They've got an internet connection, and we'll play and we'll invite our friends and we'll get some food vans out the front. So I'm putting it out there for any other musicians that are listening to this. Why not do this? Because there's room for everyone to do this, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you don't have a noise problem because you're in the middle of an industrial estate. You play the gig and you stream it live to your audience anywhere in the world. And they laughed at me. I said, that'll never work. Today, it seems like a really good idea, right?
It would be an awesome thing to do. Yeah.
So, and I've put this out to a few people. I had someone come back to me recently saying that they have the friends, they were talking about this after I chatted to them with a friend whose sister runs a dance studio.
Mm-hmm.
The dance studio is empty right now.
Mm-hmm.
So, but they have a stage, they have area. So they're actually converting it into exactly that, as a venue for bands to come in and play. When
Love
we
it.
Right, small bands, we can now get together in groups of 5, so that's possible.
Mm-hmm.
But even so, you can do it at safe distance, even within a band, right? And they'll be able to stream it. There you go. It's starting to happen, and it's like, wow. So this is the opportunity, I think, for us to really think differently.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what, for me, the Rough Diamonds is about: is what are the diamonds that you haven't even seen yet,
right,
that are just waiting for you.
brilliant.
In fact, the Rough Diamond Academy is one of those diamonds for me. Because I do this kind of thing one-on-one with my clients. I'm thinking, and then it sort of hit me, why can't I take that to a broader audience all around the world? Right?
Absolutely, especially now.
Yeah, and then you just have to be brave enough to do it.
Go for it.
Yeah,
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Yeah, exactly right. So I did it. I literally launched it. It's not what I planned to launch at all, but it is what it is. And
you just started it, right?
Just started at the beginning of this whole thing. So I've been talking about it for a while, but oddly enough, talking about it doesn't achieve much.
I love it.
I'm shocked. You have to actually do it. So, and I must give a big shout out to my eldest daughter, Elise, for kicking me in the butt and telling me to get on.
Oh, yay!
But this is the opportunity. So we're here as the Rough Diamond community to help you and everyone else in this community do these sorts of things. So I would encourage all of you, sing out, tell us what it is that you're scared of doing, but now you have to do, and let us help you do it. That's why this is in existence. And even that idea of even getting on a Zoom as a group and chucking ideas around and going, would this work? Because there's no dumb ideas, there's only possibilities. And you don't know.
Yep. I love it.
So things have quietened down a little bit in New York for you. You can get out and about a bit now?
Yeah, I mean, it's slowly but surely kind of relaxing, and kind of the sense of panic has eased. Quite a few businesses have opened. But as we were chatting before, there is still major sense of uncertainty as to just how relaxed can we be. I mean, we're all still walking around. It's actually getting really warm. It was like 85 or so yesterday. And in that warm weather, to have that giant mask on and the gloves, ugh, not fun. So, but yeah, we're still it's the kind of middle stage of, we're not in the worst possible place where we're back in March, but definitely still being very careful.
And it'll be interesting to see, with people being so careful, how long it'll take for them to be comfortable going back into a theatre or
Yeah.
auditorium in large numbers. So
I even have a kind of, I was visualizing in my mind, thinking perhaps there may be, in these large scale, like movie theaters and places like this, there might be some sort of like they might tape a few seats to spread people up. I don't know. That sounds like that would be an interesting kind of compromise, at least,
yes, and
like
you
every
know,
other seat or something.
and the opportunity, if you're performing in an auditorium, whether you're in a theatre on stage as actors or playing a
Mm,
piano,
mm,
there's that possibility for the venues as well. As I see as a business idea, I'm like, well, why wouldn't you now, given that
yeah.
we see what happens, set yourself up to make sure that you're never caught like this again,
Mm.
and you stream performances to subscribers of your theatre or auditorium.
I mean, I have to tell you that is one of my biggest issues with the classical business, because I don't think that's the case with a lot of other genres. We have been just archaic and so slow to opening up to that. Like in Carnegie Hall, in major venues, in like Vienna, when I played, people would get out their phone and the usher would come in and start yelling at them. I'm so infuriated by that, because
Well, it's interesting.
that's a major damage to your business. Why are you doing this?
Exactly right. And in fact, it's been proven time and time again. Even streaming of music, which I don't particularly like, it introduces people to your work, and then they have that
Right,
option of buying it, right? So,
right.
um,
I
but
mean,
if,
even
if you're
the
worried about it, why not take control of it? Do it yourself and put a price tag around it. That's my point.
yeah, even the recital yesterday. I just woke up this morning. I can send you. And I saw a notification from Facebook saying uh, a small portion of your performance has been muted because there's
Copyright.
suspicion. Yeah, there's some Sony Music owns this piece. I'm like, are you kidding me right now? Like,
Beethoven.
in the middle of a pandemic, this artist is playing music to help people and just bring joy to people, and this is what you're gonna do? Sony Music or whoever the heck it was, I can't remember. It just was ridiculous. I mean, really, musicians and like the business itself, the labels and big kind of authorities need to sit down and have a bit of a shift of paradigm themselves, because yeah,
Very true, but we can't wait for them to do that.
no,
That's happened to me as well.
just don't keep muting me. That would not be fun.
Well, no, it's not, and you know that you can go in and dispute that. Put a
Yeah,
dis-
I did. I sent a little a gentle little email to them with
I've had to
words.
do the same, and it's so annoying because it's like you have that little window of opportunity, and people go in, they go listen to it, and it's muted, and it's like that's it, you've lost them.
Yeah, yeah.
It's frustrating, but that's the world. All right, my friend, I'm so grateful that you've given up your time. It's Saturday night there, isn't it? So
It
it's
is.
7:30 Saturday evening. Uh,
It is. Yeah, 7:36. Yes.
I appreciate you giving your time and giving us a little bit more insight into the world um, that you live in. And I just want to encourage everyone to get on board and think about their own businesses in this way. This is all forced us to change. What can we do differently as a business motto in my mind going forward? I think I'm going to maybe put it on the wall in front of me here. If I was in the middle of a pandemic, what would I be doing?
There you go.
Because if you think about that every day, you never know when it's coming. So if we think about our businesses differently every day and see what the
Right.
opportunities are, who knows? Who knows?
Right.
My friend, I'm going to let you go. Thank you so much. Stay on the line. We'll have a quick chat afterwards. But
Okay.
um, get behind Kariné, people. There's a Patreon. I'll put the link to your Patreon in the show notes as well.
Oh,
So
thank you so
I'd
much.
encourage
Thank you,
everyone
my
to,
friend.
if at the very least, come along and watch the Friday sessions while they're happening. But support if you can. So moved to do so. All right, take care.
Thank you, my friend. Thank you.